You know, it's not every day, or hell, every year for that matter, that you consider adding a game to your personal top 10 RPGs of all time.
Hey, yo, don't let him get away with that video title. Get on him.
Hey, listen, it's a joke. Calm down. It's kind of like this.
Sometimes I don't know when you're kidding. And I have to know when you're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
I gotta know when you're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Now, can I get back on track with the video, please? Thank you. Unicorn Overlord was a game I was not expecting to fall head over heels for. I played mostly every game developed by Vanillaware. I even played the Japan-only Grand Knight's History thanks to a translation patch. I mostly labeled them as great games that are fun to play, but Unicorn Overlord was just different. I remember playing the game and getting to about the 30-hour mark and unlocking the second to last region and thinking to myself, I am so glad there is more to do in this game. I do not want to stop. You've got something special when you play a game and you just don't want it to end. That was Unicorn Overlord in my eyes. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, and I get that the story is centered around the name, but I just can't take the title Unicorn Overlord seriously. I can never look at a unicorn as something to be taken seriously in the first place, and then you have the word Overlord, which I can mostly connect to being badass and Disgaea, and the anime Overlord, and I just can't do it with this game's name. I don't know, is it just me? Probably just me. When I first played the demo, I was a little bit indifferent towards the game. I wasn't exactly excited to play it. And actually, I was a little bit turned off seeing all the potential units you could have by the end game, which I don't know why the game called them units. Feels like squads would have been a better pick, but I'm not in charge of localization. And seeing how many characters you could assign to a unit, which looked like 6, but in the game it maxes out at 5 per unit, I felt like the battles would get a little bit chaotic and completely out of hand and just be dreadful to look at. Kind of like how I felt towards Xenoblade 3. That game at times just looked and felt like a chaotic mess, and I was just looking at the arrow position of my character and looking at the skill cooldowns, but that's a video maybe for never knowing my upload schedule. But Unicorn Overlord never felt that way. Sure, during some main story quests, the maps were huge and enemy numbers kind of ballooned out of control, but the amount of options that you have at your disposal makes everything feel like it's manageable. At least if you are of the recommended level for each mission. Tactical combat is of course the name of the game in Unicorn Overlord. You take out units on the map according to how many valor points you have, and you'll gain more valor points by defeating foes and capturing key points on the map. In battle, actions take place automatically according to your character's skill and initiative. The higher the initiative stat, the sooner a character's turn will happen. Action points determine how many actions your characters will take, and passive points will activate under certain conditions, and both are finite. Going into battle knowing who moves first and what passive skills will activate is half the battle, or maybe even a quarter of the battle in Unicorn Overlord. It becomes deeper when you get new equipment that have various skills added to them that might completely change how a character might work within a unit. Then of course each character has a class, and you'll get a class advantages and disadvantages and special properties that a character might have. Once I started to get the grip of battles, it became a lot of fun to start, even engaging in a battle that I might lose, watching it play out and realizing my action points and passive points setup wasn't activating as I thought it would. Luckily, each character has a Final Fantasy XII Gambit system that you can set up that will prioritize action and passive skills and under what conditions it'll activate. Not gonna lie, I kinda got comfortable with certain team compositions and having certain characters together. I kinda operate on a if it ain't broke, don't fix it rule, and I probably could have saved a lot of time if I rearranged my units a bit more, but it still all worked out at the end of the day. Battles take place on maps that are pretty much the game's overworld. Enemies will try to storm your command post and take out your units. Most of the time your foes are set up in ideal locations, like towers that will extend the range of their archer, magic users, or healers. They'll also have catapults that will fling boulders at you and will probably kill your units if they are in the area, along with access to scorpion bolts from Game of Thrones, or rather ballistas, that will pick off your units quickly if you don't take it out fast. Not to mention, if you don't take the command post of an enemy soon, they'll just keep recalling for reinforcements endlessly. There are other field effects and such that might be on the map, and it can all get pretty overwhelming, but the game gives you a good amount of options to deal with these obstacles. Got enemy in a tower dealing long range attacks to your units? Have a cavalry unit bum rush them and take them out before they can unleash their AoE skill. Got a foe bum rush your command post? Set up a bear trap or landmine and blow their damn legs off. Don't have a trap or a landmine? Okay, use an item that will automatically teleport a unit to your command post to defend it. And that's just a few scenarios that I can name. There are a lot more, but not gonna lie, at times it felt like the game was giving me too many options. Like maybe you could have limited my item usage before a battle starts, because now I'm just gonna buff my attack, buff my defense, recover HP, make sure longer range attacks don't hit me, and then recover 50% of my HP after battle. But there is a finite number of items that are in the game, so if you keep spamming item usage as your go-to strat, you might find yourself unable to purchase recovery items, as each town does not replenish their stock. You also have valor skills that kind of remind me of issuing orders in Valkyria Chronicles. They give you major benefits and can hit enemies from all types of range, but the enemy has access to these type of skills too, and you don't want them setting one off. It's like this game was designed for you to play it however you want and approach most situations any way you want. Feels like a lot of people will approach battles in so many different ways, and that's what I appreciate about Unicorn Overlord. But as I got towards the end of the game, I was just setting out my units to completely decimate everything in their path. It was kind of like this.
Yes! Slaughter anyone who stands in your way! Kill them all! They want to send out more reinforcements? Let them! I need more blood to stain my hands with!
I mean, it was something like that. That was a little bit morbid. Do I need help? I mean, I see a therapist once a year. Is that not enough? Maybe I should have been fighting for Zenoira. But speaking of the bad guys of this game, let's talk about the story and characters for a second. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, Unicorn Overlord is not gonna win any awards in the story department, or rather, I didn't think the story was anything to write home about. From what I can tell, a certain curse from another game series, which shall remain nameless because if I tell you what it is, you'll just scream spoilers for that game, so if you know, you know. But yeah, that very same curse seems to have worked its way into Unicorn Overlord, corrupting people and making the Zenoira army hostile, and they go around overtaking villages and inciting their will forcibly amongst the people. It's up to you and your merry band of do-gooders to put a stop to the Zenoira and this creepy little shit right here and bring peace back to the land. Now, the story is certainly not boring, and by the time I got to the end of the game, I wanted to know more about the world and the land, so I started browsing the in-game glossary to get more context on events and characters. And watching the story play out was great because it's Vanillaware, and you know Vanillaware has their own unique fantasy storybook fairy tale come to life look that is always pleasing to the eyes. Did I mention the game has a shit ton of characters to play as? Because yeah, there's a lot. You'll get a good amount doing the main story and some from some optional side quests, which you're probably going to be inclined to do so to make sure your levels stay within story range. The characters all have good personalities and quirks that make them easy to watch, and every event, story, and side quest is voice acted, and the voices all sound great. I didn't have a single complaint about anyone. As far as localization goes, well, I've heard some things, and while the changes sometimes are okay, other times I'm just sitting there like, why the fuck did you translate it this way? But that's a topic that's going to have different viewpoints for everyone. Let me go into some things I didn't care about. You have the option to recruit custom characters to your cause. You can customize their stat growth and colors to make them feel like they're your own character. However, you can't create your own name for these custom characters, which completely turned me off. If you're going to give me the option to have my own custom created characters of sorts, allow me to input my own names and not choose from a list of common names, and it's not even in alphabetical order. Now, this may be because online battles are a thing and they didn't want people naming their characters Longshaft McGee 69 or some other immature name, but you could have probably used a player's username and had the characters they use referred to as their classes? I'm not sure. I just know I wanted to have a team of Fern from Freerun as a mage, maybe a thief named Kazuma, a mercenary named Guts, and some random dude out of nowhere named Mr. JRPG Shadow leading the team because he sounds pretty cool and awesome and might have a YouTube channel that you should subscribe to. I don't know, I'm just putting shit out there. However, with the amount of characters you can acquire, creating your own seems like it's a bit unnecessary unless you're really going for Super Saiyan 3 levels of team optimization for certain characters. Also, I don't like how on the overworld, unique characters look the same as generic character classes on the battle map. For example, Lex has bright red hair, but when he's on the battle map, he has gray hair as a unit leader, so at first it was hard for me to spot him on the map. As I got further into the game, I got used to it, but each unique character should have characteristics of their looks that match with the cutscene models. Maybe it's because you can use an item to change the color palette of a character from their hair to their armor, and these changes will show up in cutscenes, which is always nice. Another thing I didn't like, what's with the DLC for this game, or lack thereof? It's non-existent. Not that I like DLC, but the opportunity is there. Come on, Vanillaware, you have a bunch of characters underneath your belt. Why isn't there a DLC for Dragon's Crown's Witch as a mage, or the Amazon as a warrior, or maybe Gwendolyn from Odin Spear as a Valkyrie? I know that's a unique class, but it's DLC. It could bend the rules somewhat. I mean, I would love for them to be unlockable in game, but come on now. We know we don't live in that world anymore. Maybe something about the rights of those characters and the publishers, but I feel like something could have been worked out here. And speaking of Dragon's Crown's Witch and Amazon, I feel like the game held back on the more, how should I put this, cultured designs that Vanillaware had in their past games. I mean, there are still some here, but it's like it was purposely held for the midway point of the game so that the Twitter warriors that weren't going to play the game anyway couldn't farm for engagement numbers unless they actually played the game. But that's just my tinfoil hat theory.
A game theory.
I'm sorry, I could not help myself. It was there, I was obligated, I had no choice. My tribal chief told me to do it. Just leave me alone. One more thing I didn't exactly care for, this game has a crap ton of playable characters, most of which will join you at certain points in the story. Others will join you by choice, should you want to accept or reject them. And I don't see the point in rejecting anyone who wants to join your party. It seems you do get items if you reject them, but it's not things that are too hard to come by. Feels like the game gave you a choice to recruit these characters for almost no reason at all, or feels like this feature got left on the cutting room floor of development and it wasn't fully fleshed out. It's not like we have a cap space on how many characters we can recruit, or gain renegade points for even killing some characters. That's all I really didn't like about Unicorn Overlord, and they aren't issues that really heavily impacted my enjoyment of the game. I feel like this game does go the extra mile in some areas, like giving you a bad ending should you grind to an excessive level to take on the final mission in the beginning of the game, or at least cheese the final battle. There is a romance option for every character after a certain point, and given all the characters you can acquire, it's impressive that they opted to give a special event for all of them. When it comes to Unicorn Overlord, you've got Vanillaware's great art style that you can never go wrong with, a soundtrack that's just fine. Music of this game didn't really stand out to me, but it worked for the game. Characters are also just fine, along with a story that I felt just played it safe. But you do have gameplay that soars across the sky, giving you a vast amount of options to attack battles. All in all, you just got a game that I kept playing the final battle over and over again without any broken unit setups, just to see how far I can get, and because it was just so fun. Either way, I highly recommend Unicorn Overlord. Anyway, I got some knee pads to buy. I'll catch you guys next time.
Hey yo, what the fuck?